Hi, good evening, and welcome to our Parent University Workshop here at Pauley University. Tonight we have some experts with us. We have some guests from the Office of Curriculum and Instruction and Professional Development in the technology. So we have some technology coaches here tonight to help us with tech. I don't know about you, but my kids are always coming home saying, well, I have to do a Google Doc, and I have a Google Classroom, and it's due by 10 o'clock tonight, or I'm going to get in trouble if I don't submit. And if all of that is Greek to you, then you are in the right place tonight, because we're going to look at all the ways in which Long Beach Unified is implementing into our classroom many Google technologies and KhanAcademy. And so thank you for joining in. If you are at home, thank you for being here tonight, those of you who joined us here at Pauley. And I'm going to turn it over to our tech experts here. Thanks, and have a good one.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I want to introduce myself. My name is Rick Biscocho. I am a professional learning coach with MyPD in the Office of Curriculum Instruction. Been a teacher in our district for 29 years and have loved every minute of it. And look forward to spending some time with you tonight.
Good evening. My name is Javier de Santiago. I've also been with the district this is my 17th year. Come from a middle school background, taught technology at the middle school level, and now I'm an educational technology integration coach. I always have to look at my title. And what I do is really help and assist teachers on how to use those devices that are in front of you, the Chromebooks, and how to use G Suite with your students. So hopefully you have some questions for us today. Hopefully we can answer most of those. But I'm looking forward to working with you tonight.
I want to start by framing as not only as teachers but as families some of the things that we've had to do. And you know that we as families have to navigate through so many things, not only with our children, but also with their friends, their school sites. And so tonight we're going to be looking at technology in the Long Beach Unified School District classroom. More importantly, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the apps that we use here in Long Beach, and we want to give you a chance to not only learn some of them, but also give you a chance to also use them, right? So one of the things that we wanted to do was ask a question. And this is participation. So I want you guys to think about it because it's going to frame what we're going to talk about tonight. And so the question is, what changes have you seen in how students are taught today? I've been in the district a long time, so I've seen those shifts. Think about it in terms of the classroom, the resources, and some of the technology. And so as you have some time to think about that, what are some changes that you have seen as a parent in our district? Anyone? Yeah. Absolutely. So you said that it's the computers that have changed. Not only have we gone from desktop computers, now we've gone from laptops to now Chromebooks. Great. Anyone else? What you would say are some big changes? Yes?
Testing is done online.
Yeah. Testing is done all online. And not only that, but now they get the results a lot faster because they've gone that digital route. Exactly. Anyone else? Yeah.
There's also apps that we can keep in touch with our kids and stuff on their work and stuff. So
yep. That's so true.
That's
not only, and I totally agree with you, the apps that we use now not only allow them to have productivity, but we get to peer into what they're doing, which as a parent in Long Beach Unified, with my kids who are done with Long Beach Unified, I got to experience that, which is pretty powerful because it wasn't really a secret anymore, right? And so that's awesome. One more, if there's anyone. Yeah.
The availability of the library, all the resources, the technology resources that we have available is amazing. I mean, keeping up on parent view and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like what you said about the resources. The resources aren't housed Yeah,
Great.
they're not housed anymore, and we don't actually need to be in an actual building to access them. We can access them not only from the devices that we have at home, but also from our phones. So I tell teachers that one of the things that you can do is that you can work while you're watching your kids' soccer game. Not that you should, but you can, and that's an access point that we didn't have before, right? And so as we shift, here's another question, and it's kind of a visual, but the question is, how has technology influenced our classrooms? So you're going to see a series of pictures, and in those pictures, they're from different eras, right? And so I want to talk to this first picture. So you can see this is a classroom from the 1950s, right? And you can tell that with the number of students, just the way the rows were, very typical class. Technology really didn't play a big part in that. Probably the books were a big piece. If we move out of that shot, you probably would see the teacher's desk right in the front, right? And more importantly, the focus was really on the teacher, wasn't it, right? The teacher and the content. As we go on to the second picture, here you can see, this is a more recent picture. We've gone away from the rows now. You can see that there's groupings. There's technology there with that TV. I actually had a TV that big in my class, and my biggest worry was that it was going to fall on a student. It never did, which was good. But when we look at this, you'll notice that now there's already a shift, right? In this third picture, you can see that there's a totally different shift. So now we don't even really have desks. This is an example of what we would call flexible seating. Some of you as parents may see that within the classrooms that your children are in. And technology really is at the forefront. In fact, in actuality, it's embedded throughout the entire day. We can see that there's almost all of the children on devices, or they're looking on in a collaborative work. On the big screen TV in the back, they're actually viewing a webinar. So the shift really has gone from not just being the teacher being the expert to a facilitator now. And that shift has warranted as a district to be able to not only teach these 21st century skills, but to be able to master them from very, very young. So students, from when they're in kindergarten, TK, are doing things that they're also doing in 12th grade, which is pretty powerful when you think about how wide that range of learning is from TK, and we even have early TK classrooms too, that are doing the same kind of technology that they're doing as seniors, which is pretty powerful. So this is a really important piece of that. So today, we have a few things that we want to make sure that you leave with. So the first thing is that we want to be able to learn about Khan Academy. Khan Academy is a program that is used throughout the district in elementary as well as secondary. So we'll be learning about that and how it's used at home. We're also going to be talking about G Suite. We are a Google district, and a lot of your students are already using them. They talk to you like it's a second language, like it's just normal for them to talk. And you're saying, what? Okay, sure. Go do it, right? So Google. And then the last thing is the idea of cloud computing and how it changes not only how we learn, but how we interact with each other as students, as teachers, as administrators, and families in the district. So that is the idea of what we're going to be doing today in objectives. So in this next piece, a lot of you are in it. Javier will kind of go through what those different parts are on that document that you have. Now, before I hand it over to him, I wanted to ask, has everyone gotten into this document? If you haven't, then we can definitely make sure. Yep, so you open up a tab and you type in bit.ly, L-Y, /ParentTech2019. And Javier will talk about the tabs and how we're going to use them tonight.
So the purpose of this document is to make this a little more interactive. We'll be talking about with lots of different websites, and we'll be showing you some tools that teachers use in the classroom and kind of try to explain that to you. But we wanted you to have the links so you can actually click on them and see them. So just by typing this into a tab, it will take you to a Google Doc. Okay, so you've heard of a Google Doc, you'll get to see one now. It's a cloud document. And when you do type it in, I'm just going to pop out of this really quick. You're going to notice that it kind of looks like this. And in here, you have kind of like the same objectives that Rick just talked about. And then anytime you see those words, they have blue, right? Those are hyperlinks. So if you click on those, right below that, you'll see the hyperlink. That's what you're going to click on right there. Okay, so it actually takes 2 clicks to get to that, and it'll take you to directly to a website that we're going to be referencing. Okay, so you don't have to click on it right now, but when we get to that point, you'll click on it. You will notice that when you click on it, for example, on Khan Academy, a new tab will open up, right? You just have to know to go back to the other tab to come back to the document. So students, even at kindergarten, first grade, are already learning about tabs, how to manage tabs, how to go back and forth from tabs. So now you get to experience a little bit of what students are experiencing in the classroom here today. And that's our hope, is you get to see what your students are doing. They're doing amazing things at a very young age, right? Which is managing tabs, clicking on links, and all kinds of different things, okay? Let's go back. So the first thing that we are going to talk about is Khan Academy, okay? Now, Khan Academy is, like Rick said, a resource that has been used in LBUSD for quite some time now. So just for those of you who are not familiar with Khan Academy, it is a nonprofit. And just be assured that the district was very careful about partnering around with Khan Academy. They really wanted to make sure that this was going to be a partnership. And this was a partnership that started a few years ago. Khan Academy quickly realized that for them to be impactful in education, they had to partner with teachers. So what they did is they reached out to the district about partnering up with us and having some teachers trained by them to really utilize the platform to its full potential. As you all know, Khan Academy is very famous for the math instruction. That's how he started, just creating videos for his family. And then they were on YouTube, and people really liked those instructional videos because they got to the point. And the other thing they liked about it is that they could rewind them and see the problem being solved multiple different ways. So we came into partnership with Khan Academy and got some teachers trained. We had a pilot program. We had about over 100 teachers that were trained. And the results were amazing. The teachers were very excited about using it. The students were engaged. The students were saying very positive things about it. So this partnership is still growing as we speak, okay? So really quick, we're going to be showing you what Khan Academy looks like in the classroom in LBUSD. Now, in this video here, and you have a link to this video, I'm only going to show 30 seconds of it. But pay attention to the classroom here. This is a 6th grade classroom. You're going to be hearing some the teacher talk about how she utilizes Google Classroom. You're going to hear about a student and why he likes to use Khan Academy. So really quickly, I'm just going to show this quick video and just pay attention to those couple of things. So that was a quick, and right away you can see the power there on Khan Academy. The student can do the problems, get feedback immediately. And that's just good teaching. The faster they give feedback, the student can go ahead and try the problem again and try to solve it the correct way. So that's one of the biggest impact with using Khan Academy in the classroom. Now, teachers use it in various ways. Like she was telling you, the first one that she was showing you was using it for homework practice, right? So they could do it at home, okay? They could also do it in class. It's open 24/7. It's never closed. So that's a big advantage for you as parents at home. Know that your students have access to this. And more than likely, if the teacher has connected with the student in Khan Academy, they have activities to do at home. So we know there's a lot of talk about screen time and what is good and bad screen time. When they're learning about math, that would be an example of good screen time, right? Because they're being interactive, they're learning, it's part of their curriculum. But it is one of the tools that we are using. And just this year, we have a new way that we're connecting the teacher and the students in the district. So for you to know this at home is for the students to get to their Khan Academy, they have to go through the portal. So this is the Long Beach website. Right here you'll see that under the students there's a student LBUSD portal, which you're probably familiar with. When they log in, this is the icon that they use. This is very important, okay? Logging in through the portal, having the students use this icon allows them to be connected to their teachers. So one of the benefits of using Khan Academy is that the teacher gets data, knows what the student is doing in Khan Academy, knows how many times they tried to do a math problem, knows how much time they've been on it. They get a lot of data that they can then use to make instructional decisions. What lessons do I need to assign to the student? And because Khan Academy is one-on-one, Jimmy can get certain lessons, and Melissa can get different kind of lessons depending on their ability. So really important for you at home to know is that make sure that your students are going through the portal and clicking on this icon to get to Khan Academy, okay? Another thing that Khan Academy offers us is curated content. You can see here that all of these right here are classes, full one-year courses that people can take. Khan Academy's mission is to provide education to the entire world. So this is a world platform. It's available in almost every part of the world. What's important for the district is that this content is of high quality. So we trust that it has been curated and vetted, and it's accessible to our students. So make sure that you understand that the district has taken much effort to really look at this content to make sure that it is aligned to what teachers and our goals in the district we have. So all of these, there's different content areas that are available in Khan Academy. Your student is going to be given things that were teacher created, but not teachers, but teacher selected. But your students have ability to branch out and explore any of these other topics on their own without having to, respond to a teacher. Now, in this page, in this slide here is what the teacher gets in terms of data, right? That is the one thing that's very powerful here is the data that teachers get. Another thing that teachers like about Khan Academy is that they can actually see the students working live. So in a classroom setting, you can have 10 students working in Khan Academy, you can have 5 students working on a project, and then a teacher could be working on another 5 students. But you can still see what the people in Khan Academy are doing live. So it's a live process. They can see that what videos are being watched by the students, and all that data is coming into her really, really quick. Now, students also like Khan Academy from the questions that we've been asking. They like the fact that they get timely feedback. That's huge because they get to know right away if they were right or wrong. And kids just love that immediate feedback that they get because they want to try to do it again and want to do it right. Also gives the students the ability to continuously practice, right? So it's like Khan Academy never gets tired, right? And they never gets tired. It's always available for them. And the last thing is that they're really, really engaged because these are videos, this is technology. One of the things that kids love, the #1 website is YouTube, right? So videos for them is like second nature. So when you have this instruction that's video-based, you can rewind it, fast forward it, practice it, see it as many times as they actually want to see it, and they can make their own decision on what is enough. So nobody's making those decisions for them. They're taking ownership of their learning when they're using Khan Academy. Okay? Now, for you, there's a link in there on Khan Academy Parents as Mentors. So there's a role for you here, right? So if you click on that link for Khan Academy, you'll see lots of links here and videos about what you can do to support your students with Khan Academy. So this is a good place for you to learn a little bit about it, right? Talk to your students about what they're doing in the classroom and engage with them in terms of using Khan Academy to really improve their skills. At the high school level, there's also SAT practice, right? It connects them to College Board and gives them actually strategic recommendations on what to work on to improve for their next test. So if you have high school students who are preparing for ACT or any of those tests, this is a great place to go. I know my students were going, my own kids were going to college. I had to pay like $200 for a special course preparing for ACT. Now they could do it here in Khan Academy. Okay. Now, Rick is going to talk to you about G Suites.
What I wanted to just add on to what he's talking about is that Khan allows us to participate in their learning that we weren't able to do before. I was the guilty parent that said, well, I don't know how to do that. Well, we don't have that answer anymore because we do have resources, online resources to help them. The great thing is that we don't have to know what they know. They can be totally smarter than us. They just know that they're living under us, so we're still over them. But I'm saying that the idea is that we can participate in their learning. And not only with Khan, but also with G Suite. And so what we're going to do right now is we're going to do a couple of things. The first thing that we're going to do is some of you might be very, very familiar with it. And so we're going to learn a little bit about that through a slide deck that I'm going to show you. And on your document or in your tab, so Javier, if you can go to that tab, so go to the agenda. And where it says G Suite Interface and Applications, we're going to click on that particular link. And that will take you into a slide deck where you will see lots of different apps, right? The icons. And those icons are links. And what will happen is you're actually going to go into each of those apps, and we're going to talk about it in just a second, but it's a way for you to kind of see. So let me model for you really quickly. So as you kind of go over each of those icons, if you go over Google Drive, and then click on Google Drive, the icon, it takes you to another slide that gives you information. So we know that it's an online storage, that cloud computing that we're going to talk about later. So they don't have to worry about thumb drives or disks or any of those things. It's all cloud-based. So they can never say they left their homework at school, because you know better now, right? Because it's online. It interacts with other G Suite tools. You have collaboration, which we're going to do in just a second, sharing and privacy options. So there's different levels of access that not only they can have, but you can also put on some of their documents as well, right? So these are the things that I think are very, very crucial to that. So as you finish reading this, there's a couple of links on there that will take you back. So if you click on the top menu, that takes you back to the slide. And so you'll be able to go through each of the different ones. I'll just give you about 30 seconds. So as I go through a couple of different ones, you guys can kind of click through, and then we'll have some opportunity to talk about some of the things that you're learning about that. Some of you might be Google experts at work, but know that this is a resource. If you don't know, you can start to learn about that. So, yeah.
Just to add really quick, that every single student, once they're enrolled in LBUSD, they get a Google account. And in kindergarten, every single kindergartner has access to this G Suite. Okay, so it's available to every single student once they get enrolled. And what's kind of cool is that in the Google Drive, that's where they save all their documents. And what teachers are finding is that at third grade, they could actually look at students' work from kindergarten and really see that growth. So there's potential there to look back at the work, because usually at the end of the school year, most of my children would just throw away all their papers. Now everything lives in the drive. And that's a huge thing to be able to show kids. 'Cause sometimes kids forget that they're actually learning and growing a lot, but they don't have time to reflect. This allows them to do that, to go back to kindergarten or first grade and see their writing and see how it has really, really changed, right? It's kind of like looking at pictures. You know, you look at your baby pictures and you see, oh, how much you've changed. Now you have a digital version of this with documents.
One of the other apps that we're actually using right now is Google Slides. And if you click on that, you'll notice that it's very similar to what some of you may know as PowerPoint, right? But PowerPoint is a standalone program. You don't actually have to be online to do that. The problem is that now you're attached to a device or a file. And you have to share that file properly, or else if you don't have the right version, it's not going to open, or you won't have the edits that you did. The amazing thing about Google Slides is that you can start to collaborate. And what some of you may have seen in your classrooms already are groups of students working on slides together to then present to their class, all online. In fact, some of the things that we do in our office, we have to go to different conferences. Sometimes we're presenting from our phones because that's where it's most convenient. We don't have access to an actual device, which is completely out of the norm when you think about how we used to look at these applications. And so when you think about being able to research things, presentations, slide decks, different animations, these are all skills that they will take not only when they're in school, but also when they start to go to college and then become people in the real world as they start to work. So you'll notice that at the bottom you have where it says click here. That will just take you to another tab. And all you have to do is just go back to the tab that it was at. And then we go to the menu, which is the top left, and that takes you back in there, all right? So you had a little chance to kind of go in there. Was there one app that you saw that you found a little intriguing, that you thought, I didn't know that was what that app was about? Was there any particular app? Yes. Yep, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you said that you didn't know that they had Google Drawings. They have so many apps that they develop. Google never stops. They're always innovating, right? And so, in fact, in the primary grades, that's really how students can start to manipulate shapes so they can get not only number sense, but also shape sense with using computers. And I know that we were training a group of teachers today, and they said that they don't want them to be on their Chromebooks because they need to learn other skills. And at the end of the training, she did say, you're right, we do have to have them on the computers. And it wasn't that it was a negative, it's just that she felt that there were skills that they need. But now we have other resources. Not that we want to use computers only or Chromebooks only, but we have more resources. If we think about it as a tool belt, we have more tools as parents, and that's powerful when we think about it. One of the tools that I want to talk about, Javier, are you going to say something?
Going to mention that all these tools, you probably have seen it with your personal Google account. These are different because they're in an education account. So they're protected at a higher level than the personal ones. Every single one of these apps is available for personal use and for educational purposes. So the education version of this is called G Suite for Education, which is different than just a Google account. And then towards the end of the presentation, we'll show you your student's Google account, but it won't look like a regular Google account, which is sometimes confusing. So we'll clear that up, that student ID or email that you use today to log into the Chromebooks, that is a Google account. It just doesn't say @gmail.com, but it is a Google account, but it does come with an extra protection because it is for student and education use.
Two apps that we want to specifically go over. The one that we'll go over later in just a bit is Google Classroom. But what I'd like to do is go into Google Docs. And I get to do the fun stuff tonight. So you're going to actually go into a document. And so if you go back to the tab where your agenda is, you'll notice that one of the links says Collaboration Doc, right? Now we have some online viewers. And what we're going to do is we're going to be giving you a link, and it's another bit.ly. And so the people online can watch as we go through this doc and we actually collaborate together. This is actually what teachers and students are doing all across Long Beach. So right now you're getting passed out to you a link, and on that link you'll have not only a number, but you'll also have that another bit.ly link. You'll have to open up a new tab, which is the plus, right? That plus sign at the top, and then type in that, you're going to type in that link. Now, the people at home, they're going to be able to see this collaboration doc, because when you click into that document, you'll notice a couple of things. Number one, the document actually shows that there are people on the document now. Your account isn't seen, but everyone else is there. So those circles show that those people are on the account. Now, you are just like students in a classroom, and so I have to be able to manage you because we want you to fill this in. But what we don't want is chaos, because we know everyone wants to be number one, right? And you can't be, I'm sorry. And so what's going to happen is on that bit.ly, you have a number. That's the number you're assigned. And so when you are able to actually edit the doc, you're going to fill in that line with that information. And what you'll see are actual accounts being typed in live. And to me, that's really powerful because it's something that is happening that not only your students are seeing, but everyone else in class. One, for accountability, but also for the sheer nature of cloud computing. That's a powerful tool in that. So what we have done in this doc is we've made it just view only, which means none of you can touch it. And that's good. But remember we talked about different levels of access? By just a click, what we can do is we can change it so now you can edit the document. And the best teachers know that you have to give all the instructions first and then let them go. Because if you let them go without giving instructions, then it's chaos. So Javier is going to go through how we would change access, and then you're going to click that refresh button at the top, because right now your document says edit only or view only, doesn't it? Once we change access, that view only will go away. So what he's done is we have it so view only. We're going to change it now to edit access.
You guys ready for this? No fighting over the square,
Exactly,
okay?
right?
No fighting over
You
the square. Be
have your
nice.
numbers. And so that view access, all you're going to have to do is just hit that refresh button,
Look at this little button right here. It's like a recycling symbol.
and then you'll see the different docs, and you have 4 questions that you can answer.
And now
Please
we
go
see
to your
people in
proper line, and there you have all of the people that are on the document working together. No one's fighting.
So
love
one
that.
example of when I was in the classroom using this, I'd share a document like this with students, and what they did was that I asked them to share a website that they found for research and give their feedback in terms of the quality of the website. So now I had the students curating for me and then sharing that information with students live. So they were going online, finding information, and then sharing it with the class, and everybody can see it. You can see the potential here in terms of having students collaborate synchronously, right?
And it gives them choice. So we talked about very lightly your favorite movie. Scott, you are my man because you love The Matrix. Awesome. Okay? 16 Candles. Oh, okay. That's all right. But here you can see everyone really is allowing you a chance to actually see what everyone else is doing. No one gets out of the shot, so to speak, right? And it's pretty exciting when you think of it in terms of how you can participate as well. The other fact of that it being digital is that now you can actually see who has done what by the account. So everyone, when they're done typing out, it's all the same color. But in actuality, we can dig into the document even more to actually see how and who has done what. Because there's, I'm sure that, you've never heard this before, where a student says, oh, I've been working all night on this document. And then you go into it and they were working on it for 10 minutes because they got all their research done, which is awesome, but they didn't work all night. And we should be able to follow through on that.
And just another note on this, once you go digital documents, you open the potential for lots of things. So very easy to check for plagiarism now for teachers, right? Because they can see when things were cut and pasted. Now students have access to grammar checks. They have access to spelling support. They have access to text-to-speech. They have access to a plethora of tools to help them with writing. Grammar, spelling, all those digital tools that you don't have access to when you're writing on paper and pencil, right? So this is a big shift. This is a big shift in terms of going to digital writing. But I think it's a shift in the right direction because of the 21st century demands that we have now. We're living in a modern society that requires citizens to have this capability of being able to write effectively using web documents like this. The other thing, I don't know if you've noticed, is that this document can be shared worldwide. So a teacher in Hamilton can share with a teacher in Stanford and get students from Stanford to give feedback to students at Hamilton. Right? There's that possibility of collaboration that didn't exist when it's paper, right? The big difference with cloud computing and documents like this is that we used to send documents to people in emails. We attached it. We no longer do that. The document lives in one location, and we bring the people to the document, which is what we just did right now with you. The document never moved. You came to it, and we gave you the address to that.
The amazing thing about how we use these digital tools is that it's part of a bigger conversation around participation as a family, right? Because not only are we allowing them access to these different tools, but as a parent, you have to know how to be able to monitor those things. And that's actually what we're going to talk about next week as well. But I think the bigger question and the bigger answer that we want to do is that participating with our child's education doesn't just help them, it also helps us because it provides us access to what they're doing, good or bad, so that we can address it, right? And more importantly, when we use tools like Google Docs, it shows us that we are 21st century learners, right? Any questions on how we use these Google Docs, the collaboration? How many of you, this was your first time ever seeing a Google Doc and collaborating on that? That's pretty powerful. Seeing, the name like move across, and that's pretty powerful when you see that.
It's also a very nice mix of parents here. We have parents from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, so that's pretty amazing.
That is.
Yeah.
So the Now, the other app that we really want to show you is used in a lot of classrooms across the district, and it's Google Classroom. And so Javier will be talking about that for a few minutes as he goes into the Google Classroom.
So as we move towards, using G Suite for education tools, the challenge for teachers is now, how do I connect? How do I give students access to this Google Doc? How do I get it to them, right? You got to buy a little piece of paper. Imagine a third grade class having to do that every day. It's just too much, right? That's where Google Classroom comes in. Think of Google Classroom just as the name says, as a classroom, as a digital classroom, just like a regular classroom. Okay? All the teacher has to do is give students a key to get in. The students use that key, and now they're inside the classroom. Once the teacher gets the students inside the classroom, he or she can give these students these digital documents and assignments. Okay? But the first thing is connecting the teacher and the student in this digital space called Google Classroom. And the key that the teacher gives is just a code. Okay? You as parents will probably never have to deal with the code because that happens in the classroom. The teacher simply displays the code, tells the students how to get into the Google Classroom, and the students are in. It's a one-time thing, right? You as parents just need to know that it used to be that you would ask your students, hey, what did you do in school today? Oh, I was writing an essay today or a book report. The next question might be like, hey, can I see that book report, see how you're doing on that? The student nowadays will probably say, no, it's in Google Classroom. It's not in my backpack. That's a good thing because the dog can't eat it, right? That excuse is gone, right? It's always digital, so it's saved. So that's where Google Classroom comes in. And for you, I'm just going to show a quick video. Just gives you a little overview of what Google Classroom is. And just so you know, if you have a regular Google account, you can actually create a Google Classroom. You just cannot invite students with an education account. But you could use a Google Classroom yourselves. If you're a coach, right? As long as your students have or whoever it is, you can create Google Classrooms and play with it. So I'm just going to show this quick video. It's a 1-minute video that gives you a quick overview. So there's 3 things I wanted to point out from that video. I don't know if you noticed it. The first one was that you can use your phone to access Google Classroom, right? So students can, most students have a better phone than I do. That could be a conversation. Yeah, I'll get you a phone, but you need to have Google Classroom on there. Could be a little leveraging point, right? So students can actually see their work on their phone and actually work on a Google Doc on their phone, right? As long as they have the app. So the apps are free. The students can download the Google Docs app, they can download the Google Classroom app on their phones or tablets, and they can access the content, and it's actually a very good experience, right? So it's a good, it's not clunky, that's what I'm trying to say. It's actually very easy to work with a Google Doc on your phone or on a tablet. The other thing that you probably notice is that there's a space there to give immediate feedback to students. So that's huge, because now the student submits work and the teacher can give feedback right away. And then the last thing I wanted to point out to you is that it is available K-12, right? Anybody, you can create as many classrooms as you like, and anybody can join a Google Classroom in terms of if they're in the education here in LBUSD. So a lot of good things in terms of why they would want to use Google Classroom in there. No biggie.
Talk about productivity. When you talk about productivity within the digital domain, there really is a lot more than just completing assignments. There's a lot of conversation that has to happen around that. There's a lot of learning that the teacher also has to do as well. But the amazing thing that I think is so powerful is that you have teachers in elementary using the very same tool that teachers in college are using as part of the work that they're doing. So imagine the comfort that a student would have as they start to see the assignments and things being given to them in a tool that they've used since they were in elementary. That's pretty powerful. And how much more ahead will your student be because of the work that they've done already through that? And I think that when you think about any kind of tool, it has to be comprehensive, right? Comprehensive, being able to make it so that it's something that they'll be able to use later on. Those are the best kinds of opportunities that we want to give our students as teachers in the district.
And then the last thing I just remember I was going to mention is I don't know if you saw how the teacher was adding YouTube videos. There's lots of good YouTube educational videos on there that now that the teacher can actually add to an assignment as a resource for a student. So not only is the student creating a document or a presentation or a draw or working with a Google Sheet, which is like Excel, they also have video support, right, to help them complete that. So the possibilities are endless in terms of what you can attach to an assignment. What you see here on the screen is what a typical Google landing page looks like for a student. This is an example of what a middle school student would see. He or she would have a history period 1, ELA period 2, science period 3, and so forth and so forth. At the elementary level, it is very common also for an elementary student not necessarily have periods, but a teacher can actually have an ELA classroom and a history classroom just to differentiate, to separate the content, right? Because they're doing elementary, they have ELA time, they have math time, they have history time. So it is also common for an elementary student to have multiple Google Classrooms. And they might even have a classroom for a club. So if a teacher has a club for some sort, or a female academy, or any kind of extracurricular activity, even in sports, a lot of coaches use Google Classroom to disseminate information like soccer schedules and things like that, just because it's easy to give students those resources in a Google Classroom. So because they're joined digitally in the Google Classroom. So this is what you would, if you would go into your students' Google Classroom. If you see something like this, you can see why they have so many. And some kids will have more than others. If they have not, maybe last year's Google Classrooms are still there. Okay, those can be removed, so the students should unenroll if they're no longer in that classroom, just to clean it up just a little bit. And the next slide here is what a typical Google Classroom has. I'm going to point out the 4 main sections in this. These are the 4 basic parts of a Google Classroom. The first section is called the stream. Okay, that's meant for communication from student to teacher or student to student. It's kind of like a Facebook stream or Instagram stream where it's just a constant stream of information. So some teachers turn that on or off depending on their comfort level, depending on where they're at in terms of teaching students how to actually communicate effectively online. That's another positive use of Google Classroom. It teaches students how to actually communicate with each other in a digital space. We all know that there's lots of stuff that people should not be posting on Facebook. It seems like people are a little bit more braver when it comes to, posting on digital platforms. So this is a good place for teachers to actually have those conversations of what is appropriate and what is not appropriate in a digital space. The next section is the one that I'm going to come back to. The people section is just a list of all the students in that classroom. Okay, and then the last section is just grades. Some teachers use it. This is kind of optional. At the secondary level, they're still using School Loop for grades, and at the elementary level, they have a different kind of grade book. But the one section that you would be focused on is classwork. That's where all the assignments will live. So whenever you want to see your son's or daughter's homework or assignment or research paper or whatever it is, that is where you need to go. And that's where you'll find the assignments that he or she has been working on. And what I recommend is you have your student guide you in terms of what's there, right? So that he or she can explain to you what is there, what she has done, what she's still working on, okay, what still needs to be get some feedback from the teacher, and so on and so forth. So for you, the only section that I recommend you focus on is the classwork, okay? Here in the next slide, I want to talk about once you find that assignment, what are you looking at? So the student clicks on the assignment. This is a typical assignment view. The first thing you're going to see is the name of the assignment, right here on the very top. This should be the picture of the teacher, right? And then right below that, it's very typical to see assignment instructions. Not always, but sometimes some teachers, as we are working with teachers, kind of give them some best practices. We do encourage teachers to add instructions here, right? Talk to the students of what they're supposed to be doing so that there's no confusion. Is everybody doing it right now? No, because sometimes the instructions are given during class, but we do encourage teachers to do this. Right below that, you'll see that there's an assignment resource, right? So this is like a website. So sometimes a teacher can send a student to a website to read an article, to watch a video, to analyze a graph, okay, to analyze a graphic, because it's part of the assignment. And this is the amount of attachments are, sometimes 2 or 3, depending on what the assignment requires. The next thing you'll notice on the very top is just your student's work, okay? If there's nothing here, it's because they have not attached it yet. Most of the time, the teacher will attach a copy for the student, so it will always be here. This is the easiest way to find that assignment. I don't encourage you to go into Google Drive to find the assignment in a folder, because it's like a rabbit hole. Once you go in, sometimes it's hard to get out. If you really want to see your students' work, go into Google Classroom, have your students show you the Google Classroom, explain what's there, and have you show you the work from here. Okay? Just a quick just note is that the student can submit the assignment. When they submit the assignment, and this might be a challenge for you, they can no longer make changes to it. So editing rights are gone. So if your student says, I want to make changes to this assignment, but I can't, it doesn't let me, it's view only, all they have to do is unsubmit the assignment. Okay? So if they don't know that, just help them with that. Just unsubmit the assignment, and they can continue to make changes to it. As long as it's before the due date, there will be no harm in unsubmitting. Okay? And then the last thing that's here that I think is very powerful is a private comment. So this is an example of a teacher feedback, okay, that a teacher can give to students in Google Classroom. And always look for the section that says private comments, because this is also a digital space for your student to communicate with their teacher. Sometimes it's challenging for a quiet kid or quiet student to speak up during class. Sometimes they don't have that ability yet. This is a good place for them to start exploring that. And because it's in the digital format, you could do it with them at home. My suggestion is to sit with them in terms of have them write that message and guide them in what to write to their teacher when they're needing help or support. Kind of have them take the initiative, so at some point they get the ability to do it in face-to-face too.
Can I ask, in our audience here, are there any families that are in Google Classroom right now where you've had an opportunity to work in it? Are there any? So you've had a chance to work in it. What has been your experience around how Google Classroom has changed with your student?
My daughter is just beginning. In the first and second grade, the teachers did nothing.
Okay.
So I must say, I feel like I'm stumbling around trying to find that swim. And maybe I've slipped into the Google Docs because it is kind of like can't seem to get out. And so if you have any suggestions on what I might view to kind of give me some guidance online that I can refer to.
Absolutely, yeah. And just like how our students are learning, we're learning as well. And as we sit with them, they can kind of help us navigate through it so that not only do they know that we are there to support them, but that we're learning it along with them. They'll learn it faster, I hate to say it, but they'll be able to teach us as well, right? So I appreciate your comments. Were there any other families that have used Google Classroom where your student has taken you through it? Any others? Yeah.
I have. My only problem is that teachers are not consistent. And like my son goes to Renaissance and they have like the school locker. And I even tried going into the teacher's locker to see if they put down what's going on in the classroom and to see if they uploaded PowerPoints or notes. There's nothing.
Right.
And as a parent that believes in education and likes to be involved, it's really frustrating. So my only thing is if you guys can get teachers to be more consistent.
Yep.
I understand that we're moving towards technology, but if the teachers are not consistent,
Yeah.
it's really not really valuable. So that's my biggest problem.
Just to point that out, that right now we're in that transition phase. We've had Chromebooks now. This is the 4th year with Chromebooks and G Suites, and then every year it gets better, right? Every year we work with different teachers who are same thing, struggling with understanding these tools, how to utilize them best, right? How to utilize them best to improve student learning. So yeah, it is one of our charges that we are working on to try to get teachers comfortable using all these tools. And now all I can tell you is that I see a lot of people now accepting it, right? And it's the initial group that's going to help the rest come aboard when they see the benefits of student learning. And some people need to see it to be able to jump in, right? Sometimes it's kind of scary to jump into a new thing, but we are seeing that wave coming and seeing people, instead of running away from it, actually going in and riding that wave, which is what we encourage people to do, just to get on the surfboard and enjoy the ride.
What we will sometimes call them are early adopters. And these early adopters are actually becoming the mentors to a lot of the teachers. What we've also found is that the capacity that these early adopters have builds a lot of credibility with these teachers that are very set in their ways. I'm one of them, I'm very set. But I also know the power of being able to give children opportunities to succeed far beyond what we think they can, right? And that's what we want for them. And that's the buy-in with a lot of these teachers that are very, very reluctant. To a lot of them, it's, well, why do we have to fix it? It's not broken. The way I teach it, they love it, right? Yes. However, there are other ways. And remember I talked about that tool belt? It's another tool in your tool belt to be able to provide for your child. And it's also a tool for parents as well. So I agree. I think that there's still this learning curve that a lot of the district is on. When we do get to that point, I think we're going to see a huge surge, not only in the success of our students, but success in a lot of other areas as well.
The last section in Google Classroom that I want to just point out to you here is the difference of the way that students can communicate with their teacher. There's a section in Google Classroom called the stream. What you need to know is that whatever is posted on the stream, more than likely will be public to the whole class. So whoever the people is in that class, they'll be able to read that, depending on the permissions, of course, that the teacher gives. What I recommend is that you look for the option where it says private comment to teacher, right? Always look for that private comment when you want to ask for support from your teacher. Have your student go find that section. It's available in every assignment that's in Google Classroom, right? And you'll see it clearly labeled private comment. Right? So the student here has the ability to give that private comment, and the teacher can respond back and forth between there. It's just another form of communication. Obviously, you have many others, whether you're using the messenger communication or through School Loop or Loop Mail as communication. But I mean, I think just having options is always a good thing, especially when it comes to like a specific assignment question. This is where you would have Google Classroom to ask that, right? The next thing we want to talk about is this whole student ID and what the Google account looks like for students. Now, this is a typical username here that we see, student ID number, and usually a 9-digit number. All of you here used it to log into the Chromebook, and it ends with student.lbschools.net. That is a Google account, okay? So one of the things that you have to do at home to access this G Suite application, even if you don't have a Chromebook, if you have a computer, all you have to do is go to google.com, and if you see that little blue icon on any computer in the world, your student can log in to their district Google account. The other easy way is just to go through the student portal, right? So one of the we get a lot of questions about this is that students are at home, they cannot access their Google Drive, they can't access the Google Classroom. One of the main culprits of that is that at home, you as parents or other siblings are using the browser and logging in with personal Google accounts. And when the students try to log in, they don't even know it, but they're logged in as another personal account. And so having the correct account to log in is very important. So I do encourage you to the easiest thing to do is to log out of the Google account and just have your student log in, or go through the student portal. And when the student goes to the student portal, they automatically authenticate and get to see their Google account. So just like we showed you, there's a KhanAcademy icon. There's also an icon called G Suite, right? And that's what the student needs to do, is click on G Suite, and it will log them in automatically to their Google account at home, okay? Question?
Do we have to be concerned about removing cookies?
Do you have to be concerned about removing cookies? Not when it comes to G Suite. Not when it comes to G Suite. Yeah, it's ST Math at the elementary levels does require cookies just to make the functionality work faster. It does remember some information in there to make the program load faster. But like things like ST Math and KhanAcademy, which are tools that are being provided to the students through the district, have been thoroughly vetted for security purposes, right? Yeah. Okay. Good question. So we talked a lot about cloud computing and things like that, and how the benefits are. With that comes responsibility, right? One of the things that you just want to point out to you, and you have it in your document, that there is a district AUP policy. One of the things that we do encourage students to do is to keep their password safe. Now, if there is ever an opportunity, or you think there's a chance that somebody is using their Google account for other reasons, have them change their password. Okay, students can have to talk to their teachers if they don't know how. Teachers have been given information on how to guide students through that process. Okay, once again, they have to go through the student portal. So the student AUP is just there for you as a guidance in terms of, we do have to use these digital tools now because it is part of the modern society. Now we have to know how to use it respectfully and responsibly, right? So it's just there for you to understand that there are some things that we have to be cognizant of when we are using devices and we're connecting with each other on the cloud. But I think it's good learning because it's part of our new society that we have to learn how to navigate these digital environments to be respectful and to be good citizens. Okay. The last thing that we have for you, and this is a question that you brought up, is what resources do you have for me so that I can understand this a little bit more? The last section in that flyer, we have a link here that will take you to the Google Learning Center. So this is strictly from Google. Here, we send a lot of teachers here, students, to learn about these products. They have really good resources. It kind of explains what the tool is and how it's used and everything. So you can use that link, just go to the Google Learning Center. If you're still confused about what cloud computing is, the second link will take you to explain what cloud computing is. It has really good visuals, it has good videos there for you to use at your leisure. You have a link to the district accessible use policy. And you also have a resource for Common Sense Media. This is one of our favorite resources in terms of how to behave online, what are the security risks, How do I protect my students? If you're really interested in that, our next week's topic is going to be talking about how to do that, how to protect your students in this digital age. And we are going to be referencing a lot of material from Common Sense Media. So if you look at these links and you've seen that Common Sense is something you want to learn about, I encourage you to come next week because we're going to go deep into that and what's available there for you as parents. Now that students are using these devices or on their phones, how do we protect them? Okay, so I'm sure that's something that's always in the back of our minds.
I think what's really powerful when we talk about not only acceptable use in terms of devices in our district, because we have thousands of devices that are being used every day in a good way. But we also have devices out there that aren't being used well because of misinformation, right? And so when we think about resources that we have as families, not only is Common Sense Media a good resource, what it does is it provides an avenue to be able to learn alongside. And I know I keep talking about participate and participation. That's key in making sure that our children are not only doing what they're supposed to, but that we know what they're doing and that it's acceptable. When we talk to families about the use on their devices, it usually is not what we're catching them on. It's the fact that there was misinformation on how they should use it. So it becomes really a management issue with the teachers that are learning this as well, but also schools that are navigating all these devices that, quite frankly, students know how to use more and use well. And so we want to be able to be caught up to the work that we're doing. These links are very powerful if you want to research on some of the things even that we're going to talk about next week. And I do want you to experience the, I think I would call it the joy of being able to know that our kids are safe even when they're online. And that's through conversation that we have with them. I think that whenever we provide avenues for them to be themselves, we also have to be open to what they're going to give us. And so we have to be willing to give and take, because that's really what they're learning in school, that it's not so much the teacher teaching anymore. They are getting choice in what they get to learn. They are getting experiences that we never had, which is good. And also, too, they get a chance to experience new technologies that will take them so much further than where we have gone. So these are great resources for that. We have just a few more minutes, and so any questions that you have, hopefully we'll be able to answer them. But any questions that you have, we will be more than happy to try and answer.
You wanted to hide.
I do.
I know.
So I have two questions.
Sure.
And it could just be, I'm going to school for community health education. So. Okay, I have one of my questions is, for Khan Academy, are we sure he keeps up with the College Board? Because if our kids are using Khan Academy to prepare for their AP exams and he's not up to date, I just want to make sure we do know he is up to date with the College Board and everything for the AP.
It's interesting that you said he, right? Because it did start with just
Well, it was
him,
just him,
right?
but yeah.
Now it's
Yeah.
it's a team of over 150 people.
Okay.
So now it's really grown. You know, he's supported by our Uncle Bill. You know Uncle Bill, right? Bill Gates.
Yes, yeah.
A lot of foundation money towards Khan Academy. We just call him Uncle Bill.
We just
You
call
know,
him.
so it is a very, very, and we just be sure that we did partner up because they are doing an excellent job. And the other thing that I didn't mention is that they have actually now 4 different sites in 4 different languages. So even in Spanish, there's a whole Khan Academy site just in Spanish. The number of classes is not the same as the one in English because it takes a long time to get all those videos translated. But yes, be assured that it is. It is.
Okay. And my other question is, because some of our kids are difficult to deal with, like I have a child that's on the spectrum, and sometimes it's hard to get her to do Google, to do Classroom, the Classroom docs and all that. is there a way you guys can at least create a parent site for parents so we can at least see what is being uploaded? Not so we can activate and do the work, but at least so we can see what's going on in the classroom. Because
So-
we're not seeing.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's like, I mean, you're probably thinking, how can I join that Google Classroom so that I can see it? That's one of the things that Google has not allowed, is that if you have to have a LBUSD or education account to join this Google Classroom. It's just for protection purposes. One thing that you could get from Google Classroom is just parent-guardian emails that gives you a summary of what your student has been doing. And I do encourage you that if your student is using Google Classroom, contact that teacher in terms of get you to the guardian summaries, right? And all you have to do is give them your personal email. It doesn't have to be a Google email. It could be any Yahoo or whatever email. And then you will receive daily and weekly summaries of what's happening in your student's Google Classroom. The best way that I want to share with you is just have your student log in with you. Log in, sit with them, and have them log in and show you what's there. And now, if you know your student's username and password, you can log in as them and look inside the Google Classroom. But yeah, guardian summaries. Yeah, there's guardian summaries that any parent can get. If a teacher is using Google Classroom, and all you have to do is give them your email, and then you'll receive those automatically.
The other thing that we are learning as a district, and we're what's called an all means all district, which means that no child is not able to participate in learning because of anything that they have, right? And so we have offices, the Office of School Support Services has an office where they have access to different ways that people can access if they're not able to access the normal way. So say there's a student with no arms or hands, there's a way that they can provide technology for them so that they are still able to learn because they're still one of our students. And so that may be a direction that you might want to take just in terms of how maybe some modifications would allow her. But in terms of the drive itself, they have the student account that if you were to go on together, you would see all the documents. The other piece is the organization piece that teachers as well as students are learning as well. Now, after many, many years, they have a lot of documents that they maybe have not organized. That could be a rallying point for you to help them understand the organization process within that. But we do have lots of services within the district that provides access to all students, regardless of their situation.
Good questions. Any other questions? Yes, right here. Just wait for the mic real quick.
Thanks. Is there a standard grade that this gets rolled out? Because my kids are young, so right now they're still getting homework packets through paper. I mean, clearly she has an account, but
Yeah.
is there a grade
There
that's
is no
rolled out?
standard grade. We encourage every teacher to try it. I mean, it's just a matter of reaching everyone. Like we just talked about, just the implementation is not. There's no law that says we have to use Google Classroom. Like Rick's telling you, it's just another option for teachers to use. So no, there is no standardized it starts. I've worked with kindergarten teachers and TK teachers who are trying to use it and are using it effectively, right? So there's lots of good examples out there of even the little guys being able to do this. And that's just part of our work to try to convince as many teachers as possible that this is possible.
What we have found is that the implementation of anything, whether it's Chromebooks or a new English language arts series, the best way that there's going to be traction within that is when the entire system participates. So right now we would be considered the early adopters of using these things. What you can do as a parent of that is we know that all principals have been trained in Google tools. So some of them are already using those tools to model to their staff. Now, some of the staff see that and say, I'm on it, I'm going to do it. And others say, I like what I'm doing with my papers and I'm good. But the conversation begins with, hey, have you ever considered, right? So it's definitely something that you can start to introduce at your school, especially when we have such a wide range of tech users. So we have the ones that are essentially digital natives, and the ones that are not only foreigners, they're still in the other country. But what we can assure you is that at the elementary level, at all levels, there are points where they have access to this digital media, and through our offices, we are providing training for them. What we have also found too is that if we teach them what buttons to push and everything, it doesn't last. If we teach them how to be a better English teacher using devices like this, using tools in Google and Microsoft and all of these things, what it provides for them is a new way to think, which then they pass on to their students. So it truly is, although it's not mandatory, there are all these entry points that you as families can provide for your schools and say, hey, I just went to this training about this. Do any teachers here use Google Classroom? Oh, and then that conversation starts.
And just to add just really quickly, even though they may not be using Google Classroom, it's pretty rare now to see even a TK or kindergarten not use technology. Their curriculum is digital now. They have the Wonders curriculum, they have assessments, they have things they have to do. The students have to get onto a device. So there's some sort of device use at almost every single classroom now. It's pretty rare not to see just no tech use, because it's not even, teachers have to use it just to access some of the curriculum.
Any other questions before we finish?
I had a question with like when they submit their homework, like at home in the Dropbox, and sometimes the teacher don't check it. Well, maybe it's just they got too much students or whatever, but sometimes they don't check it right away. And me as a parent, it's like it automatically goes to my phone like every 10 minutes, just to check on the work and stuff. And I like the fact that the grade and the work and stuff come to me every 6 o'clock, so I could just click it and see whatever they're having and missing and stuff. But the thing is, how do you check, like if the teacher checked the work already? Because that's my problem right there. Because I will let my son do the work and put it in a Dropbox, and then I'll wait and wait and wait. And I'm like, well, is the teacher checking it, or did he check it already? How can you tell if the teacher checked the work?
So I think what you're describing is what happens in School Loop, right?
Yeah.
You probably have a middle school, secondary student.
Middle school.
Middle school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in School Loop, there's, they do submit the work, and you get those notifications through School Loop because you've opted in for those, and those are good to get. But there's just, right now, the best thing I could offer you is just to actually just email the teacher in terms of the due date. I don't know if it was way before the due date. If your student submitted it early, that could be a possibility. But there is no way for you right now in School Loop to see if the teacher has actually looked at it.
Right, because with my son, he was doing he was trying to be smart and stuff, and not doing his work. But the thing is, what I found out that he was writing a headline and then submit it in like a Dropbox, like he did it already. And then I'm thinking he did it, and I got mad and I emailed the teacher like at 9 o'clock at night, and the teacher emailed me back in 5 minutes. I'm like, wait a minute, the teacher is up. So then he told me exactly what my son was doing. And then I looked and I said, show me the work. And that's what he was doing. I'm like, oh my gosh. So that's a good thing where you can email the teachers right away and they'll email you
so
back.
that's a perfect example of just communicating through School Loop and asking the teacher, hey, is this was submitted, what's going on, when is it going to be grading? And like I said, now everything teachers are doing is on their phone. I mean, they're at soccer practices, grading papers, they're, on School Loop, inputting grades. So that cloud computing, has been good, and sometimes, teachers now actually do a lot of work after work.
Yeah, I really like that. Okay, I'm transitioning from private school to public school, and I didn't even know they had all this stuff there where I can just, because private school I have to go right to the teacher, but here you see the grades and everything. You don't be surprised when the report card mailed to you,
Yeah.
It's like you can see everything, and that's what I like about public school.
Good.
They didn't have it when I was anyway, but
Yeah.
now it's like it's so
It's-
funny. It's like I'm going all the way back to school again to check all these stuff that the kids
Yeah.
are doing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, we have to try a couple steps ahead of them because they find ways to try to circumvent the system, and
and you know
they're
what I heard through that whole story? Mama's not going to play. She is not playing, and she's going to check on my work, and I can't do that anymore. And to me, that shows not only how we can help our kids to be successful. Thank you so much for your time tonight. We appreciate not only your comments, but participating in some things that you are very foreign to you. But imagine our students and how they have to learn it, and they don't have a choice, right? And so we do appreciate your time. Next week we will be talking about another technology opportunity that we can have with our kids.
Yes, thank you very much.